Hello and welcome. In this video, we are going to take another look at our P6 Modified. This version of our P6 Modified focuses on a small convenience store or kiosk application that will allow for us to track the inventory associated with a set of products. And specifically, this video is going to focus on what doesn't change between our P6, our original P6 practice, and our P6 modified practice. So to begin with, this assumes that you have completed your P6. And if anything, what we want to do is we want to borrow very heavily from that P6. And to begin with, what we want to do is look at the difference between the function signatures. Now, again, I covered this in a setup video, but we want to again look at this because this will help us determine which functions do in fact not change. In other words, basically what I want to do is bring over as much code as possible. Now, right off the bat, our import products function is one of the ones that's going to change. We're going to grow the array as we see fit inside of the import products function, but our display function, or excuse me, our display product function, rather, if you notice, has the exact same function signature. So let's make a quick note of the ones that will not change. First, the display product does not change. We will come back and see if there are any changes for our display products. Right now, you'll notice that the function signatures themselves look exactly the same. But since this is somewhat of a bonus or a helper function, I want you to leave this one for later and instead focus on the very basic functions like the display product singular, as well as the copy product singular, which if you notice, does not change. And so again, this is an example of a function that will stay the same between the two versions. The copy products, again, is an example of one of these bonus or extra functions that we could duplicate the code in main. I will encourage you to use both the copy products as well as the display products. But for right now, let's focus on the original functions associated with P6, and that includes our export products. Now, this one, surprisingly, does not change. You would think that if we switched from static memory allocation to dynamic memory allocation, that something would change in our export products. Well, the answer is it doesn't. So right off the bat, we see at least three functions that we can simply copy over from our P6 practice. Let's go ahead and get started by going to the display product in both projects. And you can see that all I'm doing here is printing out a table associated with a singular product property. And so we can very carefully come along and we can simply just copy, and if anything, overwrite all of the code in our new P6 modified and paste the display product. Likewise, with the copy product, which comes right below that, we can also go ahead and copy rather the singular copy product. I seem to have misplaced it. Where we go. The singular copy product also does not change. So from my P6 practice over to my P6 modified practice, I again can simply copy and paste. Now, continuing with this, we can go find our export products. And again, there are no changes with our export products. The logic and everything stays the same. So we will simply copy and paste this over to our export products. And again, very carefully paste that in the appropriate spot. Now, at this point, let's go ahead and build our P6 modified practice just to make sure that we don't have any errors. And so far, we've done a good job of copying and pasting over. And now let's take a second to go look at the additional functions that can be copied over. And so if we take a look now at the display products, they too, or rather the two versions of our functions between the two projects are in fact the same. So if you have leveraged your display products function in your original P6 or P6 practice, then you can also bring this over to the P6 modified. In addition, we can take a look at our copy products, plural. However, the problem there is that in our new version of it, we will require the address of the variable that holds the pointer to the beginning of the destinations array. What does that mean? Well, that simply means that this particular function is going to be a little different than the original copy products function. So the only one that we can justifiably bring over with no changes will be our display products. And so again, what we will do is we will simply go to both of the versions of these functions and then simply copy from our P6 over to our P6 modified. And again, before we leave this, we want to go ahead and build it just to make sure that we didn't introduce any bugs. And at this point, then we're probably done with the code in the functions that we can bring over. And then it's time to start looking at the differences between the two versions. And specifically, we are going to start looking at where we can use malloc and realloc instead of declaring arrays that are much larger than needed. So hopefully you found this video useful. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, don't hesitate to reach out to me. And thank you for watching.